Namaste and welcome back to Waking Up with Mindful Serenity. And we're going to continue with our answering of questions from the jar. I'll pull a question from the jar and I'll do my best to answer it within about 10 to 20 minutes, hopefully closer to 10. So I pulled out a question. I'm going to take a deep breath before I even read it and exhale, just to get that monkey mind out of the way so the higher part of me, the higher part we all have within us, does the answering. Wow, this is a deep question. The question is, how do we get from objective observer to joyful participant in life? How do we get from objective observer to joyful participant in life? How do we get from objective observer to joyful participant in life? So we have objective observer, and then we have joyful participant. And we're talking about how we approach life, how we live our lives. I see that joyful participant is the ultimate goal. One of the ultimate goals of a yogi is to reach that state of joyful participant where we're not disturbed by the antics of life. Life can throw whatever it wants to in our direction, and we are able to handle it peacefully and lovingly and joyfully. That is one of our ultimate goals as yogis, is it not? The objective observer is also a goal. It's probably one of the first goals we have to attain on our route to yogahood or to samadhi, whatever you want to call that state we're trying to reach, where we are a joyful participant. I think the objective observer component is extremely important and one of the things that we have an extremely challenging time with as human beings. How do we become observers of our life, looking at life objectively without the dualistic judgment that we all tend to get lost in, and observe what's going on without getting pulled into it, losing our identity in it, forgetting who we are as we play out these dramas of life that we are often pulled into. So objective observer, I think it was Krishnamurti's expression, I'm not sure. But when we say objective observer, we have someone who is objective. That means they are not judging. They are not getting lost in dualistic thinking like this is right or wrong, good or bad, should be or shouldn't be. It just is. So they're very objective about it. They are depersonalized, like they are watching it from a distance. It is not subjective to them, so they're not feeling it. They're more so just watching it objectively. Observer, of course, is to observe. It doesn't necessarily mean participate in. It just means observing what's going on in the forefront. So the objective observer is when we're able to transcend our connection and our attachment to the first three koshas of the yogic body. And I keep going back to this, but it just helps me to understand it and explain it. Maybe it's not so helpful to you, but we know there's 5 koshas in the body according to yogic philosophy. There is the physical body, which is the body you see with the body lines, the organs, the organism itself, including the brain, which is the filter for the mind. Then we have the energetic body, which we in the West don't have a full understanding of. It's not something we usually incorporate into our understanding of mind, body, spirit. But the energetic body is the energy system of the body. It's either up or down, and it is yogic intention for all energy to rise up. Then we have the mental body, of course, which would be known as our psychology fields. The thoughts, the feelings, the beliefs, the dogma, the doctrine, the ideation, the conceptualization, the rationalization, the defense mechanisms, etc., that we all tend to overuse and get lost in and identify as, because the personality belongs in that, right? So we can have this mind, this body and energy field and psyche coming together to form a personality, this idea of who we think we are. And so we have this little me that we get lost in. So everything that happens to this little me or that unfolds in front of this little me becomes so personal mind. It's so, all we see, we have these blinders, and it's just all about what little me is experiencing. And when we live like that, we get pulled into the drama that's occurring in front of little me. It becomes our personal dramas, and we are lost in the character. Instead of being the actor wearing a costume and the masquerading self, as Yogananda would call it, the mask, we become the character that's up there playing on the stage. We can't see the audience behind here. We can't see anything else. We are the character. Every curtain call seems so real. Everything another character says to us seems so real. It's all about us and how we're experiencing this life. And we can get lost in that personal interpretation of life. We start to believe that life is here to serve this little me, this little character on the stage. And when it doesn't, it's out to get it. So we're either, the best friends with life, or we're the worst enemies to life. And it involves a great deal of selecting the things we want from this life that makes us feel better, pushing away and resisting that which doesn't. And that selecting is exhausting, first of all. But it also leads to all kinds of samskara build up inside. So we end up getting triggered by what this character does and how that scene takes place, or that prop over there. And we're constantly reacting in our resistance when we are lost in that character on the stage. Krishnamurti said we should be stepping back and distancing ourselves. Realize that we are not the person wearing the costume and the mask. We are the person in the audience watching what's going on the stage. There's distance between us and it. And when we create distance, we can develop a certain objectivity. It's so subjective and so personal when we're on the stage, but when we're back here observing what's going on, it is more objective. It's not so personal, therefore not so painful, not so disturbing. There's less need for reactivity and resistance. And that is a very crucial stage in our yogic development, in our personal development, in our human understanding of how we should approach life. Once we pull back from all that we're lost in and see it just as an act on the stage, and that we're just running around as characters and we're the actors, we can take the costume off at any time and come back here and sit in the objective observer seat, then that has less of a disturbing effect on us. And we can relax, because yoga is all about relaxing into what is, not resisting what is, but relaxing into it, allowing, accepting, honoring, embracing everything that happens in life, seeing it as a tool that can help us grow and expand. So we don't get overly attached to the drama, but we appreciate the drama and we allow the drama while we sit back here as objective observer. Once we fall back into this role, it's really hard to detach from all that's going on there, right? It's really hard to. But once we learn to do that and we hit that objective observer role, and we're sitting here watching it, such a sense of peace and relief comes over us. And we may, erroneously believe that that's it. We've attained samadhi. We have reached the epitome of what yoga can offer. But it's just a stage. From here as objective observer, once we learn to create that distance, learn to detach, learn to relax into what is, we need to go a little bit further. We need to fall back even further from objective observer to the true self. The two koshas are there, right? We had the first three koshas already. We had the physical, the energetic, and the mental body. But below that is the jhana body, the wisdom body, true knowing who we are, this true realization that all that's just a maya or illusion, falling back into who we really are. And from there, we fall back even further into the Ananda body, where we recognize the free flow of Shakti or Satchidananda, existence, consciousness, and bliss, which is who we are. When we're back there in that Satchidananda, the existence, consciousness, bliss, that state of pure yogahood, we can't help but be joyful, because that's all that energy is joyful, blissful, loving energy. And that's who we are. And it's coming up and out. So we can participate life. We can step out of the shadows where we're observing, walk into that life, get back up on that stage and enjoy every bit of it, wondering what's going to happen next. Who's going to be the next character come on the stage? What is the script writer going to write about my life next time? What's going to happen here? When's the curtain going to close? When's it going to open? And it becomes this joyful, exciting experience we get to participate in. So what is the difference between objective observer and joyful participant? Objective observer is the first stage, and it's probably one of the most challenging stages, to detach from what's going on, come back, look at it as a distance, learn to stop resisting, learn to relax into it, and then from there, walk back up onto the stage as a person who knows they are not the character, knows in every cell of their body that they're just here to experience and enjoy this life that they have the opportunity to experience and enjoy. Well, that's how I see that. I hope that answers your question. And again, none of these answers are meant as expert answers or opinions. They just come from my own learning and my own experimenting with life and my own self-reflection. Look inside yourself and see if you can answer that question for yourself. Thank you again.